Once upon a time there lived an old man and an old woman in a small house on the edge of the forest. Everything in their life was arguing, only one thing was missing: the old man and the old woman did not have children. Once the old man asked to bake a gingerbread in the shape of a little man. The old woman looked into the barn, and there was almost no flour left. She took a bowl, scrubbed it along the box, swept it along the bottom, and a handful of 2 handfuls of flour gathered. The old woman kneaded the dough with sour cream, and when she was rolling out a gingerbread on the table, she took it and made it in the shape of a little man with arms, legs, with a head, and put it in the oven. After a while, the old woman came up to see if the gingerbread was baked, took it and put it on the window to cool. The gingerbread man cooled down, lay down, but suddenly got up and ran as fast as possible out of the house, from the window to the bench, from the bench to the floor, across the floor and to the doors, jumped over the threshold to the porch, from the porch to the courtyard, from the courtyard to the gate, farther and farther. The old woman called her husband, and they both rushed after him. But it's not so easy to catch the gingerbread man. Now, he has already reached the field where the peasants were threshing their crops. Running past, the gingerbread man shouted at them that he had already run away from the old woman and the old man, and he would easily run away from them too. The peasants heard this and ran after him. But no matter how fast they ran, they could not catch up with him. A gingerbread man ran up to the field where the mowers were mowing the grass. Running past, he shouted to them that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and he would easily run away from them too. The mows could not stand such ridicule. Everyone rushed after the gingerbread man. They run as fast as they can, but they cannot catch up. And towards the little man the cow is walking, he shouted to her that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and he would easily run away from her too. The cow got angry, and also rushed after the gingerbread man. Only he cannot catch up. And to meet him a pig. The little man shouted that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and he would easily run away from her too. A pig screeched and ran after. Only she could not catch up, she was too fat. A gingerbread man runs along the road, and a hare meets him. The little man said that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and he would easily run away from him too. The hare heard this and ran after him. Nor can he catch up with the little man, only the hare saw him. A gingerbread man runs, and a wolf meets him. "I will eat you," says. And the little man answered him that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and he would easily run away from him too. The wolf growled and rushed at the gingerbread man, and he dodged and ran as fast as he could. Only the wolf saw him. A gingerbread man is running, and a huge bear is meeting him. His little man was not afraid, but shouted that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and from the wolf, and he would easily run away from him too. A ferocious bear stamped his foot and ran after him. But the bear was too slow to catch up with the fast gingerbread man. A gingerbread man runs, and a fox meets him. The fox was very cunning, but the little man did not know this. Therefore, out of habit, he began to shout that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and from the wolf, and from the bear, which means he will easily run away from her too. The fox listened to the end, and said that she was very old, did not hear anything. She came closer to the little man and asked him to repeat it. Obeyed her silly gingerbread man and began to brag again. The fox listened to the end and said that she still did not hear anything. She came even closer to the little man and asked him to repeat it again. The gingerbread man agreed, and then only he started anew when the fox pounced on him and ate it. And the gingerbread man no longer bragged about.
It was snowing outside. It got darker and darker. It was just before Christmas. In this cold season, a little beggar girl walked through the streets with her bare head and bare feet. Her legs were completely red from the cold. In her hands the girl carried a box. It was a little match seller. For the whole day she did not sell a single match, since no one paid attention to the girl. She could not return home, because that day she did not help out a penny. The girl had no choice but to wander the streets further. Finally the girl found a cozy place around the corner of the house. She sat down on the frozen ground. The girl felt even colder. Her hands were completely frozen, and her fingers ached from the cold. She couldn't take this pain anymore. The girl timidly took out one match. With trembling hands, she struck a match against the wall. The match flashed brightly and began to burn with an even light flame, like a tiny candle. The poor girl shifted it from hand to hand to warm her fingers. She imagined herself sitting by a large fireplace in a beautiful room. This made the girl even warmer. But suddenly, the flame went out. The fireplace disappeared, and only a burnt match remained in his hand. The girl lit another match. To prevent the wind from blowing, the poor thing turned to face the wall. The girl looked at the match, and the wall suddenly disappeared. A large, elegant room appeared before her eyes. There were many different foods on a set table with a snow-white tablecloth. The girl wanted to take a piece of meat, but the match went out, and a cold, damp wall again stood in front of the poor thing. The girl lit another match. Now she was sitting in front of a luxurious Christmas tree. This tree was much taller and more elegant than those that the girl had ever seen. Thousands of candles burned on its green branches. The girl could not take her eyes off them. But suddenly the match went out. The lights began to go higher and higher, and soon turned into clear stars. The girl again struck a match against the wall, and when everything around was lit up, she saw how one of the stars rolled across the sky, leaving a long trail of fire behind it. Probably someone died, the girl thought. Her beloved grandmother said more than once that when an asterisk falls, someone's soul flies into heaven. And suddenly, her kind and affectionate grandmother appeared in front of the girl. She appeared for a short moment. And then the match burned out in the girl's hands. The image dear to her vanished. The girl hastily struck all the matches remaining in the pack, just to see her grandmother again. The matches flared up so blindingly that it became brighter than during the day. The grandmother appeared in front of the girl again. She had never seen her as beautiful as she is now. The girl dreamed that it would never end. Grandmother took her granddaughter by the hand, and together they flew high into the sky where there is no hunger, no cold, no fear. The little girl felt extraordinarily good. And just at that moment a star flew across the sky. On a frosty morning, around the corner of the house, they found a little girl lying under the wall. Her eyes were closed. A blush played on her cheeks. An affectionate smile lit up her face. There were a lot of burnt matches around the girl. No one had any idea what miracle she happened to see, and among what beauty they, together with their grandmother, met this Christmas night.